every incumbent who was on the board won this primary. So despite all the energy that we're hearing out there that, we want change.
So turnout was high.
Very.
Republican participation went down by 25%.
Yeah.
We don't think Republicans didn't vote. We think they voted in the Democratic primary.
Right.
Yeah. Hello, Vermont. I'm Andy Julo.
And I'm Joanna Grossman.
And this is There's No A in Creemee.
Vermont politics, culture, and beyond.
Thanks for joining us.
Hello and welcome to There's No A in Creemee, post-primary edition.
That's right. How tired are you?
I'm all right. I don't know if I'm tired or I don't know. My senses aren't normal.
No.
Yeah.
The confluence of emotions following something like that is intense.
Yeah, the emotions and the physical exhaustion. And as you know, I was hitting exhaustion a few days before the primary. I actually went in and got a B12 shot, something I've never done. And I just was kind of pushing through those last few days, and it's definitely starting to hit me now. But we've got a podcast to do.
We've got a podcast to do. I was saying it's kind of incredible when you think about all that we produced in the last 6 months with keeping up with the podcast, all we did with the campaign.
Yeah.
2-day jobs. We have families to maintain.
Yeah, people you were probably getting this all the time too, right? People oh my God, how are you still doing the podcast? Or, oh, you're still working. And those things for me kind of kept the rest of it manageable, it was whenever I was doing my Phoenix stuff, I kind of felt like I was on vacation, or whenever we dropped in the booth, I was okay, we've got a little podcast time, and that felt really good.
Any glimpse of your old life when you're campaigning is really welcoming, and then that you can go back to it when you're done.
Yes.
Is a temporary condition, as you say.
Yeah, that's right. It's almost if you're in jail, you get to make a phone call home, and they say to be reminded of the things that are happening at home, and that's supposed to help you get through it. I don't know. I've never been in jail, but that's what,
Sure. Yeah. Jail, boot camp, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, boot camp. Yeah.
I haven't been to boot camp either.
Right. But you know about it. You have family who've been there.
I do.
I saw a really lovely egret in flight on the way up here, and I kind of felt okay, we can have our summertime, do our thing now.
It's a lot of egrets in the Champlain Islands. I don't know if it's because the water level has been low the last few years or a climate change thing, but I don't remember them being in as large numbers as they used to be. But they're here now, and they're pretty.
Yeah, they've discovered the islands.
Maybe word just got out, or maybe the Vermont Tourism Department has really been stepping it up. So maybe the word got out to the egrets.
We had this running joke at my household that when we would we'd put food in the bird feeder, we would joke that we were posting it on Bird Yelp so that all the birds would find out about it.
Sure.
And so I think you guys got on Bird Yelp.
Maybe we did.
So congratulations.
Thank you. 5 stars.
So between this episode and the last episode, I lost the Vermont Democratic primary. I know a lot of our listeners are friends and supporters, and I have not responded to nearly as many people as I would like to. So I just want to thank everyone for reaching out. It's honestly, I feel really relieved. I found, in the last few weeks, I found in my absent-minded moments, a little glimmer of almost hoping I wouldn't win. Yeah. And that's the truth. And I left, we left everything on the field, and we worked our asses off to try to win it. But it wasn't my year. And I'm so just incredibly grateful for everybody's help and support. And I feel a lot freer now already. I was sort of noticing in the typical grief mode of your sleep being all screwed up, in the middle of the night. I got up and I could not sleep, and I got up and I started cleaning the bathroom, which is something that it sounds horrible, but I haven't been able to do it for 6 months, and everyone has been helping out, but it was nice to just kind of get up and do that. And I was listening to an Israeli podcast that I like. It's a very lefty, journalist podcast. And I was thinking if I was still running, I wouldn't be allowed to say that, I felt so penned in by what I could say and do and how all the interest groups were trying to like shape me. And like, even though I know that's like a good way to get information, like objective information, it's like everything was so sensitive. And I was really starting to struggle with that. And yeah, I just feel like free now to kind of do what I need to do and take care of myself and move forward with my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a grieving process if you've ever been through it. I mean, your name is out there. It's so personal to you and so impersonal to everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain that to folks. Something flips in people's minds that you're almost dehumanized when you're running for office. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even people you know will be awful to you. And then the day after the election, they have no recollection of it, or they don't think you should register it. Or it just was so impersonal to them.
Yeah, to them it was like it's just business, but we're still buddies. And for you, it's just like I don't know. It's all about you. And like I was really astonished at like how people were like so emphatic about some like super niche issue that often like the one that was coming up the last few days of the primary was about the artificial turf on the CVU field. And like the Senate has no real role in that. And I mean, I do support banning forever chemicals, but that's not something I even knew I supported before this primary. It just wasn't really on my radar. And, you know, people like really demanded an answer. And I was like, what is happening? You know, and everything is just so intense like that. And I just kind of wish that every person had to have this experience so they would know a little more about how to talk to your elected officials and how to advocate effectively and how to vote, like how to make good choices, you know? I don't know. I have all these like thoughts like swirling about, but I also feel like better prepared than ever to be doing this podcast, you know, like I get it now in a way I didn't used to. And I'm part of the former candidate club with you.
That's right.
And yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for this experience. And I'm so grateful to you. And I'm so grateful to Phoenix for being so patient with me and to my family. Oh my God. And just, I survived it. And that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So things are good.
Good.
Yeah. 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 So we're really here not to talk about me, but to talk about the primary.
Yeah, big day yesterday. Well, yesterday is the time we're recording this, so we, believe it or not, did our huge day yesterday, and we're rolling right into the booth to cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all slept 100% like 8 hours last night. Yeah.
Oh, we slept great the night before preparing for this, and just a short day of, hours before delivering some signs to the polls, and then 12 hours going around the polls, and then waiting for the election to come in, and then, of course, just digesting that all night long and having dreams about it and waking up and trying to get a little bit more sleep and then waking up again.
I kept having dreams. I remember this, especially from Chris's race more than yours, that I kept having dreams that like there was a thing I had to do or I need to do or whatever. And like, oh, if I do this, that would help. And then I'm like, it's done.
Right.
It's done.
Yes.
And there's like a mixed emotion of like, oh shit, I'm not going to get to do that. Or, oh, thank God it's done. You know, both at the same time.
I think I told you my reoccurring nightmare was that I'd overslept my morning drive appearance. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be on morning drive this morning. And then I would have that feeling of like, or that thought of, nobody cares what you think anymore. You're not on morning drive. Like, then the mwah mwah music would play.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. I love that like Kurt has like inspired your nightmares. That's kind of funny.
I see Kurt right in my nightmares.
Well,
I did for a month or two.
Well, that's kind of funny because that sort of did happen to me. The first time I was on Kurt, remember it was like a last minute fill in.
Right,
and then we got mixed up about the time. And it was like an honest misunderstanding. But he like texted me and he's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm on my way. And we had gotten our signal. He was like, oh no, I was worried that was going to happen.
First time I was on the show, they said, you're on at 7. And so, okay, what time do I show up? Do I check in? They're like, just be there at 7. So I just wander in the lobby and I just sit there and they come out at 7 and they grab you. And I'm like, well, this is trust. They just announced, I just heard them say, we're going to have Senator Andy Chulo on the show. And then they just assume I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
I was.
Well, you're reliable.
I guess they assume if you can get elected a senator or appointed a senator that you can at least get yourself to a station.
Yeah.
Yeah, at an appointed time.
And you could.
And I could.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. They have a nice setup.
I'm very German. I've never been late for anything unless I brought my family, and then I was late for everything.
We call that Jewish time in my culture. Yeah. But I've heard you say island time too.
We call it Dad's head is about to explode.
Nice.
Yeah. We do call it island time because of the
Yeah.
drawbridge. The drawbridge is the root of island time, and it's always acceptable. If you get somewhere late and you say, "Oh, the drawbridge is up," you get a 10 or 15-minute leeway.
Oh my God. Wow. I kind of wish I had a drawbridge in my
It
life.
used to open on demand, but now it opens on a schedule, so it's a little less like you could plan ahead and factor that in.
That seems like a big ask.
It
I mean, I
does.
don't know what the schedule is, but
Probably if it doesn't go up, you'd be 15 minutes early everywhere.
sure.
And that's now rude we all have computer time and you're not supposed to show up super early.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We have a lot of results of some of the big races. So Amanda Janeau beat out Allie Richards in the gubernatorial race. That was a pretty big deal.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah, actually, I don't have the data in front of me about how close it was, but it was like
2%.
one.
I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
2%.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe a little less than 2.
Yeah. Okay. So razor sharp margin there.
Sure.
And then Molly Gray just crushed the field in lieutenant governor. And in the state's attorney's race, the incumbent was able to stay in, Sarah George. And also in the Chittenden County Sheriff's race, that was another one that was a big deal in my neck of the woods. And Dan Gamlin was able to hold on to that one. And then I thought it was also really interesting, the Chittenden Central State Senate, that Nikhil Goyal won the open seat and beat out Elaine Haney and came in as the top vote getter as well.
Yep.
So it was a pretty interesting set of results.
Yeah, and of course Nikhil had raised a lot of money by smashed records for raising funds.
Buckets of out-of-state money.
A lot of out-of-state money, and then noticed a lot of his expenditures were all out-of-state as well. The print media and the television media, unfortunately, were out-of-state. So, you hate to see all that money floating around, like money being such a part of our political process. But I could almost get behind it as an import scheme to patronage Vermont businesses.
Yeah.
Paw Print and Leahy, among others, are great at what they do, and we use them for our mail services. And hate to see it go out of the state.
Yeah, that was a bummer. I heard a lot of people commenting on that.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats used to pretty reliably use in-state and union, if possible. Yeah,
and union's getting harder and harder to find.
Union is getting harder and harder, but definitely like to see in-state. I think like the yard signs are hard to get in a reasonable size batch locally, but the print and mail services, postcards, rack cards, you can get those very competitively in Vermont. So let's encourage candidates to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've never hit them up. They're not a sponsor, but I'm a huge fan of Paw Print. I know you are too, and they're in my district, or what was my district.
They sent me a Christmas card. I like that.
They did?
Oh, every time I do business with them, they send me a thank you card.
That's so cute. So I noticed, I felt like there were some trends, broad brush trends in the results. And here's my back of the envelope analysis. Every incumbent who was on the board won this primary. So despite all the energy that we're hearing out there that, we want change, man, we heard that on doors every day.
Did, yes.
And and then every single incumbent on the ballot in Vermont won yesterday. No exceptions that I know of. And then, so in races where there was an open seat, it was strong name recognition that seemed to win the day. So Molly's a good example of that. She wasn't an incumbent, but on the Democratic side, it's open, even though it's not open, fully.
Yep.
And, everyone knows who she is. So while she's not an incumbent, she carried the name recognition of an incumbent. And then the other, seats were like really leftist progressives. Like the opposite direction of an incumbent, really.
Yeah, and with no real background.
No record
in
here.
Service, which seems to be somewhat of a prerequisite. And we saw this with Graham Plattner, too.
Yep.
No real record of service.
Yep.
And nothing against. Nothing to say, oh, you voted this way or you had this opinion in the past, you're out, strike one, you're gone. But also it doesn't allow you a track record to prove that you can actually do the job or you're a moral human being.
Yeah.
Not that folks in Vermont are not a human.
No. They're just not vetted.
They're just not vetted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple ways to, and the ladder is known as one of the ways that you start in your library board and you serve there, and then you can do select board and school board, and you work your way up to larger and larger offices. That's one way to go, and the other is just to just make the leap and run.
Yeah. I feel like there's there's two choices. Like you can either like, like you and I, like we've done a million different things and like been involved in all this stuff. And so we have a record.
Yes.
But it's not a perfectly manicured record, right? It's so that you're always going to be having gotten into like some difficult thing because serving is difficult and because like being on committees and campaigns and stuff is difficult. And so you come in like imperfect and with baggage, but with experience.
Right.
The other, end of that is like, oh, if you come in with no experience, your record looks perfect, but it's because you haven't done anything here.
Yes.
It's like I feel a little, I don't know, I feel a little salty about that.
I think I think the latter is, and Elaine Haney was like that too. I mean, the latter is becoming a way you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting just sort of set of trends. It does seem like it's almost like these open seats like allowed some of this like new crop to like move in, and they're a very different vibe from a lot of the incumbents, and that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and Molly was the exception. She had that experience, but Molly was that originally when she first ran for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
She had never run for anything.
That's true.
Came in fresh.
Yeah.
Yep.
She just has so much name recognition that I just don't think, that would have been really hard to beat.
She did a nice job of, I was noticing that they actually used our podcast interview for their final pitch on TV. And they were able to do that because when she came out of the gate, she had her talking points nailed.
Yeah.
And she never had to revise them. She never had to brush them up. Like she was able to come out with a set of points that she wanted to cover that carried straight through and passed the test.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do sometimes. You have to kind of shift your thinking as you get, response to certain things.
Yeah.
And no, she didn't need to do that. She didn't take any corporate PAC money.
That's right.
She really kind of redefined herself after her first couple runs and what she, we talked about this the first time she was on the podcast, like, how there were some things that were perceived about me, and how was that, perceived about me, and what did I do that might have led people to that perception? And she clearly took that to heart, and thought about it, and ran kind of a flawless campaign this time around.
Yeah. You know what I noticed about Molly's campaign, and I think I remember this in her previous races too, is she's big on endorsements. And I'm interested to think, I'm just curious if that's a factor because I have never put much stock in endorsements. I always feel like, I don't know, I don't care. Like it's not, to me, especially the social media of endorsements is like kind of bleh. And so I'd rather do something else with that channel. But she was really racking up endorsements like right out of the gate and right up to the end. And maybe that did have an impact. I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to
say. You do a million things in a campaign.
Yes. And as I like to say, their campaigns are like snowflakes. No two are alike.
That's right. And you never know. You'll never know exactly what worked and what didn't work and what took you backwards and what took you forwards.
Real.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so there's some interesting stuff happening with Republicans and the Democratic primary, and I thought we'd talk about that for a hot second. So I think it was like maybe 5 days ago, Governor Phil Scott released a video on YouTube, maybe other channels too, but I saw it on, Facebook, and maybe other channels
too.
You
still have that?
I still have Facebook for the moment.
Yeah.
Not for long. Anyway, and he said he was encouraging Republicans to vote in the Democratic primary. And he was actively endorsing the incumbent sheriff, Dan Gamlin, and the challenger state's attorney, Bram Cronenfeld.
Yeah, so specifically in Chittenden County.
And so for those who don't know how open primaries work, I wanted to take a beat to explain that. So in other states, I don't know if this is every other state, but I think it's most of them. When you register to vote, you register for a party. You have to basically actively not register for a party. That the default is to choose a party, and then when they have their primary, you get to vote in their primary. So you wouldn't just be like a registered voter. You're a registered Democrat, and then you get to vote in the Democratic primary. If you're a registered Republican, you get to vote in the Republican primary. And there is no cross-pollination. The point is that you're registered to a party, and then you get to participate in that party's nomination. And we have something called open primaries here in Vermont. And the point is, Vermonters like to be able to, choose what they want, and it's supposed to be non-restrictive, and I love the energy there, but it actually creates sort of it creates a lot of like hostility between the parties because people can sort of weaponize the other primary by voting in it when they're not a member of that party. The Democratic Party is especially vulnerable to that because we're usually the only ones that have a competitive primary, right? So the progressives and the Republicans can vote in the Democratic primary for people that like they do or don't really want to like kind of like sabotage it. And that's legal. It's not election tampering. It's actually allowed here. It wouldn't be allowed in other states because you would have had to register for the party.
Right. Although I will say Democrats did this in March of 2024 to get Nikki Haley the delegates on the Republican side of the ticket over Donald Trump.
Yes, that's right.
So it has gone both ways.
Fair.
Yep.
Totally fair. Yeah, so it's messy. And so, you know, Phil Scott was saying, oh, you should vote in the Republican primary. And and we were hearing in the field at
Vote
the
in the
polls.
Democratic primary, yeah.
He was telling Republicans to vote in the Democratic primary.
Yep.
Thanks. I am not operating on enough sleep. And and we were hearing at the polls, like from a couple of Republican candidates, like, oh yeah, like all the Republicans are voting in the Democratic primary. And we were like,
yeah, we were at Edmonds Middle School, and there were two guys shouting across Main Street. And one was coming out. He said, oh, I just voted. And, oh, I'm just going in. He said, I voted for Amanda Janeau because I thought it would be easier for Phil to beat her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was happening.
Oh, yeah. And we heard that from a few people. And that's like really a thing. And so we dug into the numbers a little bit.
We did. We like to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what happened in this cycle around. There were little over 48,000 votes cast in the Democratic primary for your district, Chittenden Southeast. That's for Democrats. There were 4,593 for Republicans, so much smaller. Now, if you go back to 2024, the number for Democrats was less than half of that. It was a little short of 24,000. The number for Republicans was 25% higher at 5,634. So turnout was high.
Very.
Republican participation went down by 25%.
Yeah.
We don't think Republicans didn't vote. We think they voted in the Democratic primary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard to say how many of them did.
Yeah.
And what effect that had, but there's clear evidence there that Republicans did cross over to the Democratic primary en masse, at least in the Chittenden Southeast district.
But I thought that made it pretty clear cut, actually.
Yeah. So, something to think about, open primaries as we go. Both parties have pulled off the trick where they have switched parties and tried to influence elections and maybe been successful in some of them. Certainly the Democrats were with the primary, the presidential primary in 2024.
Yeah.
Yep. Certainly not in the spirit of the thing.
Yeah, it's not. And I understand that, like, Vermont likes to be like free spirited and stuff, but it also makes it really hard to organize. And it actually, the lack of clarity just like it breeds hostility.
Yeah, I think, one of the things you can do as a campaign is if you're really smart about this, you figure out who's going to vote.
Right.
And then you try to talk to those people individually as efficiently and cheaply as possible.
Right.
And we did that based on Democratic voters.
Right.
If we were dealing with a lot of the Republican voters, we had no way of reaching them. But if you have lots of money and you're just blasting ads, large ads in all of the papers, then you might catch some of these voters who are not normally voters, are crossing over and voting in the primary. So again, it favors large amounts of money over
it definitely
strategy.
Yeah, that's really true. I also think actually like just to like tie a bow on that, like so when you're running in the Democratic primary, like the strategy is to identify through the data likely Democratic primary voters based on people who consistently voted in the Democratic primary. So if Republicans are turning out for the Democratic primary, they just weren't going to be in your target pool, if you did it well, which we tried to. So it's just like, I just kind of feel like, whoa, I wish you told me.
Right.
I would have come to your house.
Would have come to your house, had that conversation. We'll talk to Republicans.
Yeah. So that's part of why it's problematic. And I mean, for folks who haven't run, this may sound super obscure, but it can create a real impact. And it's messy. It's messy election law. Yeah. So we're seeing some very, extreme results, not just here, but I would say in the national circuit too. I mean, we're seeing more and more sort of like very progressive and DSA style candidates coming in. And I would say I would put Nikhil and Amanda in that boat. And I do think what we're seeing is the Democratic Party is struggling more and more to figure out who they are, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like we should be a little further along in that after the last few disastrous cycles. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of an internal struggle that we're having. There's a few divisions going on there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious, like, if the Dems are gonna let all the new candidates be like super lefty, like I don't see the Republicans. So the Democrats lost 26 seats to Republicans just last cycle. I don't see those districts going for uber lefty DSA candidates in the general. You know? I don't know. I could be wrong.
We shall see.
Yeah. What do you have here about the Free Press?
I think we experienced a real odyssey with our local media here over this campaign. And I don't want to go into it, but I think one of the beauties of no longer being in this is now we can start to call some of this stuff out and start to observe this on the show without feeling like it's compromising anything that our integrity is.
Yeah, that was getting
journalists.
harder and harder to parse as the weeks wore on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We tried to draw a line there, but I may be the last person to realize that the Burlington Free Press is like completely dead and buried at this point. But
yeah.
I just wanted to call attention to an article that they ran the morning of the primary.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what it said on social media. This was their headline for the click to the story. Bram Chronickfeld has shelled out more than quadruple what Sarah George has spent in the race to all but certainly become Chittenden County's state's attorney. Yeah, see the link to the story below. Now, Sarah won, so this is obviously stupid and ridiculous. But even if Bram had won, this was completely irresponsible.
Yeah.
There was no public polling on this race. They clearly didn't do a poll because they didn't know where this was going to come out.
Yeah.
And they didn't share that in the article. This was, I don't know if this is AI or what, but super irresponsible of a major media organization, if you still want to call them that, to print something like that as people are rolling out the door to go to the polls.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty weak.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think as we see these sort of things where the media is not really doing the best job, we should call it out. So I might have to start reading the Free Press.
I mean, I did have a lot of people complain to me. Like, I don't understand why, the media isn't covering your race and I mean, maybe those are just like my buddies and they want to see it covered. But I mean, the local papers did a really nice job, especially right at the end of covering it. Mm-hmm. But it's true that the larger outlets like really kind of didn't. And I mean, it affects 68,000 constituents.
Well, and I rolling this figure out, and I haven't verified it, but I've heard about 70% of our districts are either mostly red or mostly blue, and whoever's going to win is decided in the August state primary.
Yeah.
I mean, the general is a foregone conclusion. So most of our leaders are being selected in the August primary. The turnout is pretty low. The media coverage is not good, and I don't know if that's everybody's on summer vacation schedule or, nobody cares. I mean, they have to sell ads. Like, do people not care about the state primary because it's not covered in the media, or does the media not cover it because people don't tend to care about it and it doesn't get great readership? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I mean, I don't want to name the outlet directly, but there was one piece, one outlet that ostensibly covered my race that they did such a horrible job. And it turns out everybody named in the article, I was annoyed, but then it turned out all the candidates were equally annoyed. And I was kind of relieved to hear that. And it wasn't just my race. They covered a few races. And when I eventually connected with some of the other folks in the Senate and stuff, and they were like, yeah, that was terrible. And I don't know. Yeah, it was like they were phoning it in from vacation. And I was kind of like, this is a really big deal. If you're your political team needs to take the primary seriously.
Well, and we tried to reach out and we got a bunch of out-of-office replies the week before the primary.
This is lame, dude. And we've just spent weeks defending journalism. And we're like, come on, don't make us look bad.
Exactly. We don't anything but that.
That's right. Yeah. So what's next here?
We pushed through this campaign. We've been keeping the content pushing out, but we're going to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Through the rest of August.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back in September for season 3.
Yes.
And I think we're going to sit down and some serious interviews with these general election candidates.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss the format a little bit. We got a lot of feedback on the Chittenden County State's Attorney's race. Like, people were really into that race.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And everybody said, "Oh, I would have liked to have known this." Or
that was like a by
that.
popular demand coverage. We weren't going to do that level of race, and people like insisted it. Yeah,
that seemed to be if we were going to pick one, that seemed to be the one that people were most interested in, and it was a good call because it was very close.
Oh yeah,
and it was very well covered. I mean, the governor stopped what he was doing and made TikTok videos about it.
I know. Who knew?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And but I think the only thing we could have done is just make those interviews longer. And so we might do that.
No.
You sit down with people and you really start to, ask lots of questions and let the conversation flow. And eventually it gets to a really organic space. So, I don't know. We'll be in negotiations over hiatus about how we do that. But that's an idea I had.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know. I'm learning about this with you all.
We have to get the candidates on board too.
Yeah. But we're excited we're going to take a little break. We're going to build Andy's deck.
Right.
I'm helping out with Andy's deck. He's letting me.
That was the deal.
That was the deal. He ran my campaign, and I'm going to help build his deck. And
even Steven.
Yeah. And and so we'll be working on that, and then we will be back in your feeds with season 3 hitting hard on the general election, and neither of us will be running for anything.
That is correct.
That's kind of amazing.
We promise.
Oh, thank you all so much for, hanging with us through the primary.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
It was a adventure, what we were going to do week to week. Normally we plan out episodes in advance. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Hopefully it didn't show. Hopefully you still enjoyed it. Listenership was still good.
Yeah.
So we'll be back soon with new content.
Yay. Thank you all. Happy summer. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Thank you all for listening.
Follow us between episodes for the latest updates on our socials at There's No A in Creemee on Instagram, Substack, and Blue Sky.
And catch us on our next episode of There's No A in Creemee, Vermont Politics, Culture, and Beyond in Apple Podcasts and Spotify.